we doing? How we doing?
What up?
Hey, we live. What's up?
We live.
Welcome back, guys, to our first official episode of Killing Them Softly.
Woo, 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 woo.
Let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Cora, y'all.
Hey, everybody. What's up? I'm Elise.
Hey, guys.
Cheers, y'all.
M.A.
I forgot.
Hey, everybody. I'm Makai.
It's my turn. It's my
Yeah.
turn. Okay. Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Melvin Jones.
And we are Killing Them Softly. First, we want to take the time to thank Ty Ravenel for our graphic design. If you guys aren't following him on Instagram or seen any of his work, go ahead and follow him here. I'll insert his little hat. We also want to thank you guys for joining us for our first official episode and all the positive feedback we got for our sneak peek. We really appreciate it. We love y'all. We love the love. We reached 100 followers on our Instagram, right, Cora?
Yes, 113.
Hey, turn up.
Going up.
So today we just want to come to y'all with what's killing us this week, which is inequities. And for anyone who doesn't know what inequities is, go ahead and tell them, Melvin.
So, my pops is a pastor, and he wrote a book called Sins of the Father. And in that book, he talked about inequities and how inequities is basically the sins of your parents, and it's a generational thing. So it could start from late into your heritage, but it can be something that your parent passes down to you. So like for example, I have a cousin whose parents is alcoholic. They abuse alcohol. And they ended up passing it down to my cousin. And my cousin ended up dealing with it the same way that his father dealt with it. So with that, just kind of talking about parents and how what we deal with our parents and the sins of our parents and what we might be faced with our kids and maybe their kids, our grandkids. So yeah, let's get into that. All
right, let's get into it.
So getting into it, starting with you, Mel, since it seems like you've done the most research on this. What is one of the negative inequities that you noticed that you got from your parents, and have you talked to them about it?
Yes. Well, I do think inequities can go both ways. I think it can be good and it can be or positive and it can be negative. But I definitely got my ego. For people that know me, that know who I am, I do have a little slight ego. Just a slight, not too much. just a little. Don't come on, man. Because some new people on here that might not know me. So, but that's one of those things that I've just always dealt with. That I've gotten from my mom and my father. So it's one of those things where I have to be aware of it. The thing about inequities and knowing your inequities is knowing how to break those negative inequities. So, that doesn't get passed down to your kids. But I definitely have dealt with that in numerous of ways. I think that has ignited my anger in a lot of situations, which is another inequity that I feel like my father has had. So yeah, I think what are some of you guys, CJ, what's some stuff that you feel like your parents dealt with that
Mine definitely, from my dad, I definitely got my anger. I think that he has always been so focused on making sure that I don't end up turning to alcohol like he did and grandparents and so on did, to the point where he forgot about anything else and he didn't bother like checking in on any other feelings like emotions. I don't know how to express my emotions when I'm sad, when I'm angry. It's either happy, blackout, angry. I don't know there's no middle ground. I really feel like that has been passed down to me. But a positive inequity that I get from my mom is how much I care and love to encourage people. That's something that I noticed from her too. No matter what I say, no matter how negative I am, and even other people, she has a way of saying the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree to that.
Look, one thing about Corey, if y'all don't know this girl in real life, she is the nicest person you will ever meet. I wish I was like that.
Hey,
Okay, sweet.
Until you get her mad. Get her mad. Just push the button though. Just push the button. That's
a
when
normal
you really
Aries thing as well. So
That's exactly what I mean, though. I don't have a middle ground. I don't have a healthy way of telling somebody, yo, I'm angry. When I'm angry, I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to turn up.
Bless it, baby. Bless it. I will say, I think one of my negative inequities I get from my dad would be probably being emotionally unavailable. I will say, there's times when I guess I could be more emotionally available for people, and I don't be, just because and this kind of goes into my positive too. I will say, on a positive note, I try to, make the situation okay for everybody. I try to ease everybody's time, making sure everybody's having a good time, kind of like a people pleaser. So maybe that could be a good thing and a bad thing in itself. Not being able to hear other people's emotions, but just trying to make sure they're okay and make sure everybody has a good time. So I guess those we can count it as good and bad.
I feel you on that one. Definitely mine would probably be a mix of negative and positive, and I definitely got it from my dad. Me and my brother both struggle with this, but it's letting people back in, no matter how many times they've hurt us. Like you know me, y'all. I'm quick to cut somebody off. But after I cut them off, usually like I have a real problem of really cutting people off. Like I'll be mad for a couple months, might block you, but then like I'll just keep letting people back in. And because I always believe that people can change. And some people can change, but not everybody can, Some people change because they want access to you again, but then once they get comfortable, they right back to their old habits. Y'all know what I mean,
Yep.
And my dad struggles with that. Like, he has had friends that just stab him in the back, but he always looks out for everybody, and at the end of the day, it just hurts him. And I've noticed that it's definitely trickled down to me because I've seen him his whole life just take care of everyone, always have a good heart, and so I'm like, okay, I want to love and I want to do that, and, but you can't have love for everybody. You can't let everybody in, bitch.
So y'all need to write that down for all of y'all that's listening out there. You cannot love everybody, and everybody won't love you.
Not everybody has the same heart as you. That's definitely one of the lessons that I've learned. And I'm glad I learned it early because I'm starting to fix that. Now it's kind of like, if you show me your true colors, I'm going to believe you the first time. I'm not going to keep going back and forth with you.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
I think one thing that, and I was actually talking to my pops about this yesterday. Do you guys think that, or I should say it like this. What we were talking about was, if you get inequities or if you see those inequities as a kid, does it really start snowballing right then and there, or is it something that's just more inherited? Have you guys seen stuff as a kid that your parents have did that you're like, oh, okay, you're seeing in your adulthood that you do?
I personally think it gets stronger as you get older. If you can't catch it, then it can get worse. You feel what I'm saying? Because I feel like as kids, we're sponges and it's learned behavior. So certain things like what you were talking about, like the alcoholism and all that, of course, that's inherited. That's just, you can't really drink till you're 21. So you probably didn't explore that or if in high school, because, we was drinking in high school. Until you were a little older. He wasn't in middle school turning up and all that stuff. So I feel like with certain things, it'll show, it just depends what it is. Like when you're older, it'll come through a little more, but something like anger, like Cora probably came out when you were younger. Like you noticed it from an early age.
I definitely agree with that, Makai. And to add on to that, I will say I didn't realize, and people used to tell me, you have selective hearing. And I used to be like, okay, probably because I don't want to listen to you. But lately, since I've been here on this quarantine at my mama's house, I have noticed I can say something to her, and that girl, she has always been like this, but that girl really will not, like, she won't listen to you unless you either saying something to her or you get her attention. And I notice I do that. Like, I can really not hear you, and you can be talking right to me, and I have perfect hearing. But I really will choose what I want to listen to. And thinking about it now, I think it is something that I haven't noticed since I've gotten older, that even when people tell me about it, I'll still do it. And I think it's definitely something, an inequity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we actually brought this up because I've never actually thought about that before. But one thing that I have noticed now since living on my own in New York and everything is I'm low-key kind of naive. And I think I get that from my mother. Like there'll be little things like that, a little relationship, like friendship, that will go from being a friendship to them taking advantage of my niceness and always asking for something and me just willing to give it to them, but then not realizing that they actually don't need my help. They're taking advantage of the fact that they know that I will give them my last shoe off my foot.
Yeah.
My mom is like that, and that's something that I need to break.
Yeah. People will literally use you up until you catch them. People will use you up with no remorse.
And I never used to catch
them. Yeah.
Oh.
So since we talked about that, what efforts do you guys feel like you've made now at our big age in order to kind of fix these inequities or have control over them? Because not everything you can make vanish, or disappear. Some things you just have to control and put effort in every day to make sure it doesn't kind of seep out.
Well, I think the first step is knowing what you have. I think a lot of people walk in this world, kind of wanting to be naive or is naive to the fact that they do have problems. And just acknowledging that, number one, we are all human. We're all gonna go through some things. You feel me? It's just about breaking those cycles because we're sitting here talking about our parents' inequities and the stuff that the positive and negative traits that they've dealt with, and we have some negatives, but it doesn't get to the point where it's like, for example, my other cousin out in Detroit, he deals with his grandparents or his grandfather dealt with a little bit of pedophilia. And his dad ended up dealing with it, and then he dealt with it. So stuff like that, you gotta be aware of. You gotta know the history. I think everything has a history. So I think that's definitely the biggest thing. Having that first step of knowing and consciously being like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. I noticed that this runs in my family. My father or my mother has dealt with this. So let me start making the correct steps to work on it. And depending on what it is, I think that's when you really seek help. You try to figure out, go to resources.
I also think that once you get to that point where you realize that you have these iniquities going on, that you sit down with your parents and you tell them, I've noticed this about myself. Can you tell me, do you have a history with this too? Because if my dad would have sat me down and told me that, look, the way that I get angry, the way that I fight with these women, it is not okay, I would have known from jump, I need to watch my anger. So really talking to your parents about those two as well and learning that history, like Mel said.
I definitely agree with that. But then it's interesting, Corey, you say like talk to your parents. What if you don't even have that relationship like with your parents to feel like you can really, because it's like me hearing you say that, I'm imagining myself trying to bring that up to my mom, and I don't even know where I would start.
That's true. That's also true. Because I didn't get to talk to my dad about that. Like you said, I don't think I would have been able to bring that up with him. I think that comes along the line of, as a parent, knowing these inequities about yourself and knowing your own behavior as a parent and sitting down with your child and telling them, look, sometimes I might do this, but listen, I'm working on myself. That's not the way to go.
Right.
You know what, too? And this is another topic we were talking about, but therapy might help with that, y'all. Honestly, like, for me, I think, personally, I was going to ask you guys, like, why do you think, like, therapy gets a negative, like, stigma, especially in the Black community, reaching out for, like, help or mental help or anything, having that assistance. But I think also, me answering my own question, I think that therapy gets a negative stigma, or, like, people just don't want to go through with it because they think that you have to be kind of, first, they don't want to seem weak. Let's put that out there. A lot of times, I know, especially among us Black people, we think that reaching out for help or getting assistance with anything makes us seem like we can't handle it. We always have to be tough, in this world. We might seem weak, and that's not true. But also, I think that people think you have to have like a real mental illness or be really messed up to go to therapy. But like for me, what we were talking about, like, I think that if you're having problems talking to your family, friends, loved ones, and you need someone to be there to kind of assist you work through your feelings and help you communicate in a healthy way, therapy could be the answer for that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think therapy is, and I remember you told us this, Key, but you were like, me and my family going to therapy.
Oh yeah. We are going to therapy.
But it's one of those things where, I mean, I truly agree. I, listen to, after you telling us that, I told my sister, I was like, maybe it would be great if we all did go through therapy. We got some things that we dealing with. So yeah, I definitely think that's key. And just to add on to that first question you asked, I think that iniquities, yes, it's good to know. And I think it's even better to know, because more iniquities can grow from original iniquity. So if you have, like my cousin who has problems with alcohol abuse, through that, he's always messing around with different type of girls, because he's always drinking all the time, and he feels, when we all know, when we get a little turned, we feel like, you feel me, I'll be walking up to any other girl, you feel me?
Oh, we know.
but he's always doing it, and from that, he's developed a habit where now it's something that a world where he kind of lives in now, where he's always messing with different women, and he's our age, which is fine, but he has a kid. He has 2 kids, and I just, it's not the path that he necessarily wants to be on, even though he is on the right path now. But that's what can happen,
So let me ask you something. Would you suggest to him to go to therapy, like on his own, to do that?
Hell yeah, I would. like I think, and I think he knows it too. I mean, he's in the medical field, as well, as far as more of medicine, but him just being, smart, with knowing mental health, with knowing all of that ties into your health. So I've suggested it multiple times, and he's definitely planning on going. That's one of those things where he really sat down face to face with himself and was like, you know what, I really want to get better at this. He has problems with his father. What I was telling you about, his father wasn't in the picture. And that was a big thing for him, so coming from my perspective, where you guys know I have a dad who's always been there in my life, who ended up getting a divorce with my mom, who my mom ended up divorcing and getting with my stepdad as a kid, who I look at as my pops. So I've had kind of 2 father figures growing up as a kid, and just seeing his perspective of not really having that guy present around. He really was like, I really want to look further into that. Do you guys deal with those little traumatic experiences that like I don't know if it's as deep as my cousin with his dad not being in the picture, but is there any traumatic experience that you guys have dealt with as kids that you're like, dang, kind of sticks with you to this day?
Oh, of course. Definitely, of course. I mean, even to the point where it's still even hard for me to talk about it because family doesn't know. And it has to do with what you just spoke on, Melvin, about the pedophilia, and just I had an older cousin. Who would take part in that as well. And that's why I feel like I was a believer a long time of, not needing therapy, and I don't really need nobody to talk to. My dad's a pastor. I can just pray it away. But praying that way always don't help, and it don't work. Mm-hmm. And I think that I'm a firm believer now that everybody does need therapy, and everybody should at least try to seek that help, to just get somebody else to talk to, just somebody new, somebody fresh. And I do also believe that it should be offered for free. I believe that it should be like free healthcare on some shit. Like,
I was just about to ask y'all, what do y'all think people should do? Because I know not being able to afford therapy is a big thing as well. So what is y'all advice on that if somebody can't afford it?
you got to go down a path. I think well, let me say this. I think therapy is great, but I don't think therapy starts at the therapist's office. I think therapy starts right here. You feel me? It starts mentally. It starts before you even walk in, before you make that decision. Like it's what guides you to that decision of being like, let me seek therapy. It's about, I think, and a lot of people don't like to believe in this, but I think, or a lot of people might not believe in it, but I think it starts with meditation. It starts with prayer. Prayer is good, for believers out there. But you got to be meditating too. You got to have that moment in this chaotic world where we're dealing with stuff that our parents dealt with, or that our parents have put on us. You got to have a moment of silence. You got to have a moment of clarity to just be, in yourself, be acknowledgeable within your body, within your presence. So I think that's always the first step. But as far as what you're saying, I do agree. I think it sucks, that it's not free. A lot of people aren't able to seek therapy. And I think, especially in the Black community, that's a big reason for people to kind of be like, oh, I don't really need that. They're Black folk, they're worried about if they do need other medications for, their body to help their system keep going, before we even think about, okay, let me think about the mental health side of it, because they have to pay for these things first,
To add what you said, Mel, I definitely think that therapy starts with you, because a lot of people don't realize you're not going to go to a therapist and they're going to sit you down and read you, girl. They're not going to sit there and drag you and tell you what's wrong with you. They're going to sit there and make sure, help you through it, but they're going to make sure you're the one bringing up all the issues. You're the one solving your problems, They're just there to make sure that you do it in a healthy way. So I definitely think that it starts within. You have to be prepared, because a lot of people don't realize, and I think I spoke about this before, that when you go to therapy, okay, so let me backtrack. Your brain, when you go through traumatic experiences like we were talking about, sometimes your brain goes into survival mode. So it'll put those experiences in a box. So you actually don't remember a lot of things that you went through. I've told Miles this before, but I don't remember a lot of my childhood. I do to a certain extent, but there's definitely blank spaces in my mind. And I know when I go to therapy, that's going to be open up, and I have to be ready to receive all that and ready to remember all of that, because some people go to therapy and get into depression because they don't realize, for example, my mom has a friend whose mother went to therapy, and she didn't realize that she actually had been molested. It came up in therapy, and all of that, emotion is going to come with it. You have to be able to work through that. So I definitely think it starts within, and with you wanting to seek help and you wanting to fix it and accept it, because you have to accept your issues as well, and accept that you play a part a lot of times in your life's problems. It's not other people, other people can add on to it, but it's definitely you. Y'all think the mentality that men shouldn't show emotions is taught or passed down?
That's strong. That's strong stuff right there. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a lot of it being passed down. I think in particular the baby boomers, which is our grandfather and our grandparents' generation, the men in that generation was taught to be we're the providers. We're the, we leave all the emotional stuff that the kids are dealing with for the mom. That's what they deal with. We make sure we provide, and we make sure we support it. We make sure we're doing everything we can to keep this household afloat, because they're quote unquote the king of the house. I think that has been I think that's been passed down to our parents, and they had that same type of mentality. And I think within our generation, it's different, because now you have women that is working, you have women and men that's working, providing for the family. It's not just one, one or the other. So I think with that, you have different type of perspectives. Like my pops was saying this yesterday. He was saying the same exact thing that my grandfather would have said. That this is our job. This is what we're supposed to do. And I do agree that is what we're supposed to do, but it's so much more. I don't think it's so black and white when it comes to men and women. I think as guys, you know, my dad has been like, you know, you're gonna do push-ups before you read a monologue and start crying and all that other stuff. He was like, I support it, but I'm gonna need these push-ups first. Like I think it's a guy's perspective, or that generation's perspective of being like, you're a man, so you gotta be tough. You can't show no emotion, because in that world, you know, you're showing weakness. You know, emotion is weakness, where in our world, you know, emotion, you know, showing that emotion is so powerful now. It wasn't like that before.
Mm.
It's interesting. I think when I came along that I definitely confused my dad, because he was raised with his brother, and you can tell that he was kind of taught to, you know, holding your emotions, don't cry. Because growing up, there'll be some points where if I would fall or something, he'll do the, oh, don't cry, like tough love, kind of be like, pat it off, you'll be all right. But here I am, a little girl, and I start crying, and you can look at him, and you can tell on his face, he'll be like, what the hell are those tears? And so he kind of had to learn to like soften it up a little bit. But you can tell that at first he was trying to teach me like, suck it up. And I'd be like, oh, no.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think like it doesn't just stop with men too. It's with women as well. Like for me, I feel like showing emotion isn't okay. So really when I started to soften up is when we went to college, because I don't know about, like, if y'all don't know, we went to an acting conservatory where they broke you down. You were not about to sit there, didn't they, Elise?
They broke us the fuck down. They basically made us cry. A lot of times I feel like they were like trying, especially me too, because I had a problem getting my emotions out. I felt like they tried to put me in situations that knew would fuck me up.
No,
I remember the first and last time Makai seen me break down in class, and and it was over a girl who was my ex, who I just, you know, I was like, man, I was like, and it's not like I was holding on to those feelings, or I didn't think I was holding on to those feelings, but I remember our professor set me down and was just like I think he said 2 sentences. I don't even remember. And after he said that last sentence, I was like,
boo-hooing.
What is going on? And then he was like, do the scene.
And then he gonna walk back to his chair like this. I'm good, man. What's saying that though? I think it was a good thing for me, because now I'm not afraid to show emotions. It's something that I'm still working on, you know, but I definitely think like watching my dad, because I watched him a lot growing up, like he wasn't very emotional. He is now for some reason. I don't know if it's just like with age, like I'd be like, I can't handle that. But watching him, he really wasn't like the type to cry or like come to you like if you upset him or anything like that. He really held on to anything and would wait till it got to too much and would explode. And so that's what I started doing. But now, you know, I realize that isn't healthy. So I tried to talk through it right then and there and squash it. Because a lot of times when you just address things to your emotions and let people know how you're feeling, it's not a big thing. It's when you let it pile on and you sit there and you think about it and you're like, oh no, they got me fucked up. They trying to play me. That, you know, becomes a bigger thing than what it is. So I don't think it's just a man thing. It just kind of, it depends from household to household, you know, because if your parents growing up weren't allowed to show emotion, because I know my mom wasn't, you know, they didn't have time for that. You know, my mom's emotional as is, she's a Cancer, but they didn't have time for that. You know, when things happen, it is what it is, and you had to move on. Now with us, she does not try to instill that in us. You know, we have emotions. She lets us cry. She lets us talk about it. And I feel like that's healthy. That's definitely something that I'm going to pass down to my kids, because I don't want you sitting there driving yourself crazy because you feel like you can't talk about something.
So let me ask you this, and I guess this is for everyone. Do you think that our parents' generation is more tougher than our generation? Now, I didn't say the best now, because we're clearly the best, but are we is our parents' generation the more tougher than us?
That's kind of hard because, of course, they had to go through things that we don't have to go through or didn't have to go through. But at the same time, we have new issues that they didn't have to go through.
Mhm.
So I don't know because I don't know. I don't know.
know.
I think I want to say maybe we are a little bit tougher. Maybe that's me being the millennial, but I don't know. I just feel like Cora said, it's a lot. But you know what I will say though? They did, like, as far as homosexuality goes, like back in the day, like yeah, we were just talking about with the masculinity. Everybody, I feel like boys wanted to be that tough so they wouldn't be considered a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, that takes a lot of strength too, to not live your truth. I will say our generation, we don't give a fuck.
No.
We'll be trans, we'll be bi, we'll be gay, we'll be shit, octopus, rubber goose, green moose, guava juice to this bitch. We don't give a fuck, our generation. But our parents' generation, like, that takes a lot of strength to want to hide your whole truth and not even be you. We'll marry a whole wife and have kids, but know you like dick. Know you like men. That takes a lot of strength too. So maybe I'll take back what I said. Maybe they are stronger than us.
I feel like they weren't tougher. I just feel like us, like, our generation is definitely more so accepting. And I feel like back then they weren't accepting of a lot of things. You know what I mean? They weren't accepting if you were depressed. They weren't accepting if you were bipolar, if you were gay. You know what I mean? If you had any issues that made you seem not normal, people picked on you, people beat you up. You know what I mean? It was harder for you to get jobs. Like, you were the talk of the town. Now people aren't afraid to be like, I'm bipolar, I have to take medication. I'm depressed, I have to take medication. I'm gay as shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, people aren't afraid to be like, I like this white girl, I like this black guy. You know, it's just now that we are making more things acceptable and we're like, this is normal. People are different. People have different preferences. People have things going on. Now there's commercials about mental health, you know, and going to therapy and making sure you're good. So I think that they just had to hide a lot more. And it's not that they were tougher, they just didn't know how to sort through their emotions, and they were good at, like, you know, kind of bottling that all down. But if you notice, like, personally for me, I think that now that since we're accepting of it and a lot of kids are teaching their parents, a lot of things are coming up from their childhood or, you know, adulthood before they had kids that they're dealing with now. And parents are kind of breaking all those walls down. So I think it's because for me, I guess it's just the way you think about it. For me, I think you're tough, and I think that you are stable when you're able to deal with your shit and be honest about it.
That's our generation, then.
Yeah, no, I think I would agree. I think it's toughness in different ways. I think our parents for sure has us beat with the toughness of dedication. As far as being like, okay, let me put in the steps, even if I have to crawl before I walk to get it done. Like, I think they're it's a word for it, as far as like being dedicated to committing to the same routine over and over again till they eventually get there. I think that toughness, you know, is within them, you know, compared to us. We in a world of Twitter and Instagram where, you know, we can become, you know, Insta famous or millionaires, you know, by the end of next week. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think there's a different type of mentality there. I also think that our parents' generation, they didn't have a lot of the stuff that we have. They had more of other people telling them stuff. Like, they couldn't rely on, you know, the different media outlets that we have nowadays to kind of form our perspective and kind of, you know, form us as a whole, compared to their generation where they had only the nightly news and they were listening to their neighbors and they were listening to what the community was saying. You know, I think it was more of a one-hold opinion there. And if that opinion wasn't the same opinion as the general population, everybody would be like, whoa, no, we don't do that. We don't do that. Compared to our generation where we're like everybody has an opinion. Everybody can be like this. Everybody can, you know, you can go which every other way. And then there's a whole community behind that, you know?
Yeah.
I think that the older generation, though, I definitely think that they're a bit more street savvy than us, though, for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Like, there'll be some, if I don't have my phone and my credit card, like, I'm stuck. But my mom, She'll be fine. She'll read a map, whatever you need, where you want to go, what you want to eat. We about to eat off a penny. Like, what's good?
Hey, look, I asked my mom the other day, how in the hell did y'all get around before GPS?
MapQuest.
Like, I don't get it.
I remember my mom used to print out MapQuest directions, and we would go with that. Those sheet of papers that read the directions.
That's a fact. My mama used to. Wow, that's a throwback.
You know what it is? I think that generation just, they had to figure it out. Like us, I feel like our generation, we give up easily. You know, things are working out. We get sad about it. We give up. And we're always like, we can come back to it later. And 9 times, like, not everybody's like that. You know, some people stick through it. But I think we get down a lot of times. When back then, it was more so like, I got to hustle. I got to make it. I got to find a way. You know,
Right.
Us now, like, we a lot of people like to say they're hustlers, and I'll be in the studio every day, every night, and like I'll be out here grinding and stuff. But a lot of times, like, you know, we're quick to like switch careers. We're quick to give up on people, relationships. You know, like things are working out. We're like on to the next. I ain't got time. I'm young. I'm free. You know, so yeah. I definitely think like what you said, Mel, like just sticking to it and making sure like, oh, I got to do it. So, like being hungry for it. The hunger is different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
I want to go or touch on something you talked about earlier, because I don't really think you know how blessed you are, Mel, to have 2 dads in your life, a stepdad and a real dad. You know,
for sure.
Something, because, you know, it kind of ties into like childhood trauma and mental health and, you know, all that stuff. I don't know if, well, first let me say this. I don't know if you guys experienced like an absent parent in your household, someone who wasn't there, or someone who wasn't physically there, or someone who wasn't mentally there. But I want to see, like, did you guys ever experience like having an absent parent, and did you feel like it affected your relationship with the parent that was there? Do you feel like saying that the parent that was physically there, or physically, like, you know, mentally capable?
So my mom and my dad were divorced when I was I don't remember them being together at all. So I would always go to my dad's house every other weekend. That was my time with my dad. But physically, I don't think that I had a relationship with my dad, because every time I would go over there, we wouldn't do anything. It was either we just watch TV all day, he would watch sports, until the point where I got older and I was like, I'm going over my friend's house all weekend. Like, I'm bored. Like, we're not spending any time together. I'm just here because I kind of have to be here. But it wasn't until, also shout out to step-parents, good step-parents in their stepchild's life, because I also have a stepmom. And it wasn't until she got into his life that she kind of made him aware of, you have a daughter and she's not going to be young forever. And then he started making an effort, and then he got into my life a little bit more and became a little bit more active in my life.
Did you feel like because of your dad did that, though, that ever affected your relationship with your mom? Or like, nah, it made you closer to your mom?
Yeah, it definitely made me closer to my mom, because I didn't have anybody. I didn't have that first date with my dad. I didn't have him to call when I got my heart broken. It was my mom. My mom had me. I went to school with my mom, like, obviously not with my mom, but I lived with my mom when I was in school. So everything my mom had to take care of financially, my mom did everything for me. So growing up, I had just a little bit more respect, and I had a closer relationship to my mom. And my dad always got a little bit offended by that, but she's the one who I saw doing all the work, so.
Yeah, I feel that.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and speak for the people who had 2 parents in the household. I'm probably, mine gonna be short. I will say, my parents, until my dad passed in 2018, my parents were married up until the time I was born. They was married since I've been born. They had my 2 older brothers before me. Growing up with 2 parents in the household, I will say I'm very grateful, and I'm very blessed to have had that. I will say, being able to see 2 people really work things out. Like, my parents had their fights every time my mom would pick up a hammer. Like, bitch, what you gonna do with a hammer? And they might, so shit would get crazy. But it was always, after people was able to cool down, it was always that thing of, I'm sorry. And my dad was always the first one to apologize. So I'm glad I did get to see that. I will say that I'm able to see that a man, I have a lot, like, my standards are very high when it comes to a man. I think that's because of my dad. And he definitely kept it in my mind, like, what guys want. He made sure I tried to finish school. He definitely had talks with me. And I will say, you can't be afraid to talk with your kids, because then they will grow up not not sure or wanting different things out of a guy that really they never needed in the first place. And so I will say that on my end, I am grateful that my dad was able to talk to me. It may not have been what I wanted to hear, but I'm glad it was said to me.
Yeah, I'm a speak very short and brief like you too, coming from that situation. Just like what you were saying, Key, I do acknowledge that I am very blessed and fortunate to have two male father figures in my life. Like I said, seeing my cousin and what he's dealt with, some of the obstacles that he's had, that I didn't have due to that privilege of mine, has definitely been an experience, just even seeing it from my position. And one thing that I didn't know as a kid, when that whole thing, because I don't know if you guys know, well, you probably won't, but as guys, well, Keith, you probably, I don't know if anybody if your brother has ever experienced this, if a guy trying to talk to your mom or anything, but as a kid,
have you seen my mama?
But that
yes, they
exactly,
try to talk to her.
Exactly, but has your brother ever been like bossed up like?
Yeah, that nigga crazy.
Exactly. So as boys with their moms, we always, like, especially as a kid. I was a kid when my mom was divorced, and like I was like always like, what's up? And I remember just as a kid, when my pops came into my life, it was never like that. And I noticed, I was like, why wasn't it ever like that? Like it was always genuine. I always like just loved to be around him and just to learn from him and everything. But I've learned a lot of things just from him and how he approaches life, because there are a lot of the same people, my dad and my pops, but they're a lot different as well. They're both very confident, highly confident in themselves, as far as knowing something and being able to get it done. And that's where I feel like the core of my manhood, as far as my confidence, come from. Just that sheer will of being like, I'm gonna get it done no matter what. And then just the difference as far as my dad being dedicated and decisive within his planning. He's real militant as far as like, I gotta be asleep at this time in order to go about it and be able to handle it at this time. If I'm asleep at this time, he has a whole system. He's a madman when it comes to that. And so he leads like that, vice versa from my pops, who is a pastor and who kind of leads from like trying to touch the soul, trying to touch the heart of people and have people realize things about themselves. And so growing up, I learned both of those. I feel like I got both of those qualities, I should say.
That's good.
Makai, go ahead. What you about to say?
Oh no, go ahead. Whatever you want to say.
So sometimes people say that having an absent parent in their life actually made them stronger. Mm-hmm. Would you say that it made you stronger, or do you think it actually did more harm to you?
So, all right, so it's my turn. So I actually grew up, my father is incarcerated. So he was in my life until the age of 9 before all of that went down. And I think that he actually was an absent parent while he was home as well, which we've had talks about, and he's accepted, because my dad growing up had to take care of himself. He didn't have a father figure in his life. So his version of being a father was just being a provider, which I'm so appreciative of. I've always had the toys that I wanted, the shoes that I wanted, the clothes on my back. We had a nice house we were taken care of. But I definitely think that I've always kind of had an absent father, which, to answer your question, yes, has made me stronger, but it also, I have a lot of weaknesses that I'm working through, because it was like you were talking about, Cora, like you never had that date with your dad. I never had that relationship with my dad. For a woman, your dad is supposed to be your first love. Like Elise was talking about, your dad is going to show you that the man that you should, be looking out for, the man that you should be in a relationship with, the man that you should, the ideal man. For me, I didn't have that example. So now that I'm older, dating or whatever, I'm kind of figuring out on my own. And my mom will have talks with me, whatever, and I listen to her, but it's still not the same as seeing it as you grow up, seeing those examples. Okay. And like, okay, yeah, I want someone like that. One thing I did take from my dad though, is my dad will hold you down. My dad has always held my mom down. And he's always, if she needed something, he got it. So that's something like I definitely look for in men, someone who's gonna like a hustler and who's gonna hold me down. But I definitely think like now I'm building a relationship with my dad. So it is a little more healthier than it used to be. But I think just as in terms of like I'm more independent, and I definitely don't lean on a man or I know I can't depend on a man for anything. Got to get my own money. Choose myself over a man always, just from watching things that my father did to my mother. Definitely strong in that sense. I'm definitely like an independent person. But growing up, I was jealous of my friends who were daddy's girls and went on dates with their dad or went shopping or just were like, I had this one best friend growing up who her and her dad were like this. They would go fishing together. They would, she would be outside and I would pull up to her house to hang out and she'd be outside just talking to her dad while he was washing the car. And I would look at things like that and be like, dang, I wish I had that, like, oh, I'm jealous. But I definitely think it was a learning experience because I'm now going or I shouldn't say now going forward, but definitely for me, I'm making sure whatever man that I settle down with and have kids with, you're going to be there. You're going to be present in your child's life and not me forcing you to be because you want to be. You're going to show me early on that you would be a good father before we even go there.
I feel that. You said I don't need no man to pay my bills.
And to that point though, because growing up with my mom, I do feel like sometimes though, as women, we could be a little too stubborn because sometimes you want to just be like, damn, I just want to do something nice for you. And that's like, we splitting the bill.
Right. But I definitely think that like, because it's like you said earlier, like I saw my mom doing everything growing up. Everything. My mom was the person who was always there. Even when she was frustrated because she had a lot on her plate, she was always there. And she still is. So it made me closer to my mom. Me and my mom are like this. Y'all know, like. So I definitely think it helped rather than hindered. And, there was like a little stage when I was like, a sophomore, freshman, where I kind of not really resented my mom, but I was so angry because I didn't have both of my parents in my life that I took it out on my mom, but it wasn't her fault. And I realized that I was being a little bit of a bitch. So that quickly ended, so, but I definitely think that it strengthened my relationship with my mom, I think like I said, like an absent parent doesn't need to be someone who's not physically there. They can be mentally not there. And I experience both. And I definitely think on the spectrum, like having a parent that's in your life, but like not mentally doing anything or physically involved or anything is way worse than someone who wants to be here, but can't,
Yeah. No doubt. I have family members who experience that as well, who's that their mom is not mentally there. Mm-hmm. I had and this is actually deep. I've never seen it, or I've always seen it in the case of a father kind of leaving out in the family. But I have a close friend whose mom left out on the family, and his dad kind of was left to have the duties of a mother figure and a father figure. And just even seeing how he is today with a lot of things, how he kind of moves, it's a lot. You can tell his dad did a really good job of being that great support system of both sides. But you can also tell, like, as far as even with the nurturing side, that there's things that's kind of missing void for him because he didn't have that mother figure around. So shout out to the moms too, by the way. Shout out to
the mamas out there. Shout out to the mamas that ain't single. The daddies can help but not be shit. Shout out to all y'all strong, independent Black chocolate women and the white women too, but Black chocolate women especially.
Hey, my mama, my angel on earth, Miss Tanya Knight, is her birthday today. Shout out to her.
Happy birthday, mama. Hey, mama look about 20. It's her birthday.
Well, that Don Julio, pull it up.
Pull it up. Take a shot for mama.
My mom loves tequila too. I'll be like, bro, why
you best friend?
Drinking tequila?
Period. We love a Don.
Makai loves tequila. Okay. Because I can't stand tequila, and I even took
my shit.
my birthday.
Oh, she did. She took a shot for my birthday. She was like, "You know, I love you, bitch."
Tequila.
Okay, I remember.
The thing is, I love tequila, but that bitch hate me every single time. She be having me looking stupid, but I just
That
keep going
bitch.
back. It's a toxic relationship.
Hey, look, tequila always get the party started. That's what we know.
Every time I drink tequila, it's an instant blackout for me. Like, and I see videos of me singing the next morning. So I don't mess with tequila.
Okay, guys, so to wrap it up, we talked about a lot of good things today. You know, we talked about inequities, things we learned from our parents, you know, that were passed down to us. So I want to know what are some positive inequities that you guys had and some things that you want to pass down to your kids that you're going to be like, you know what, my parents instilled this in me, so now I'm going to instill this in y'all.
Amen.
I will say this, just as I begin this episode of the podcast with my iniquity that I get from my parents is my ego. I will also end it on a positive note by saying that the ego helps me in so many positive ways as well. I think it kind of breeds that confidence, and it you know, just kind of knowing how to move. Jay-Z said it best: how to move in a room full of vultures. And just you know, knowing how to talk and knowing how to, you know, kind of be that charming guy. I think it helps in those ways, and I think kind of just monitoring that and continuing to pour my cup into that instead of, you know, being angry when something doesn't go my way or things like that is something that I have to continue to work on every day.
Okay. So how do you plan on and passing that down to your kids?
I think just like what you guys were saying, communication is key. I feel like my kid is definitely going to, I don't even like, I just know whether my kid is a boy or a girl, she's going to have that same thing. And just letting her know, like, yes, you know, we are charming, you know, that's, you know, that's within our family. That's the Jones name. But, we do have that ego, but understand that you can use this in a positive light and to kind of show her, you know, when she is using it in a negative light or when he is using it in a negative light.
Okay.
I think one thing that I want to pass down that both of my parents, I think, did an excellent job at passing down to me was stick up for yourself no matter what, but make sure that you do it in a respectful way, because there are ways to get your point across without the negativity or without being so aggressive. And also when you are sticking up for yourself, make sure you have all the facts.
Okay, come with them receipts.
Come with the receipt. Because the quickest way to shut somebody down is if you like, well, actually, this is the fact. Bam, bam, bam. What's good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I heard that, Cora. I will say, to touch on kind of like Melvin did, even though being my negative one was being emotionally unavailable, and I will say the positive out of that I got from my parents is being able to see the light in everyday things, like not letting those emotions kind of bother me. I will say I'm pretty much always a happy person. I wake up happy. I'm a morning person. I'm pretty much always in a good mood unless I have a reason to be otherwise, unless somebody kind of puts me in it. I will say, and I will say being able to pass that down to my kids is being able to just, you know, like I said, waking up, being able to just find something good in the day, even though today might be a sad day for whatever reason, being able to just find the light and the joy.
Okay.
Amen.
I think mine is being a leader. Like I noticed that I work really well with the team because I feel like any person needs someone that balances them out, you know. Friendships, us as a team right here, we friends and we work partners, relationships. So, but I also noticed that I kind of always kind of take the lead a lot of things. Sometimes it's not needed, but I do. But
that's that Capricorn. That's that Capricorn in you.
Maybe.
That's the same person right here.
Both of my parents are like that though. Like my mom's definitely the kind of person that's like, I'll do it myself. You know what I mean? Like, or, you know, we'll get it started for you and then, you know, so that you're successful in the end. And my dad is the same way too. But both of them know how to do it in a positive way that uplifts people. So it's not like you're talking down to them. It's not like you don't trust them to do it themselves, you know, being a leader so that everybody eats at the end and everybody's successful. So I'm definitely going to pass that down to my kids. You know, be your own person, be a leader, but help people out at the same time. You know, make sure everybody eats at the end. Everybody's good. It's not just about you. You need a team. Everybody needs a team in life in order to be successful. You can't do nothing by yourself.
Oh, for
Amen.
sure. You got to, in order to be a leader, you got to have a team to lead, and you know that's for sure positive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, this has been great, y'all. Hey, I just want to say, if y'all have any other, you know, if y'all want to, you know, have any questions, or you just want to talk about, you know, this stuff that y'all dealt with as kids, you know, go ahead and blow up them comments. You feel me? Blow up them likes while you at it too.
And let us know, y'all, anything you want us to talk about in the future, anything you want us to touch on, or if you want to answer some of these questions, don't be afraid to DM. Cora be running the social media. She's real nice.
Even if any of the stuff that we said today, don't be afraid. We love all y'all opinions, whatever y'all think. Let us know. If y'all feel like y'all need to put us in our place, put us in our place.
Hey, if y'all really want that smoke though, just know that we coming with it.
Period.
Just know we coming with it. Just know.
I ride for mine.
Period. But yeah, guys, make sure to follow our Instagram, KES_podcast. I'm getting that correct, Cora. Like us on Facebook as well. And we will be making a Twitter pretty soon, so look out for that. Again, sound off in the comments.
I said your girl Lily gonna be on that Twitter. You know it's gonna be lit.
Twitter fingers coming at you.
All right, y'all. All right.
Yeah, sound off in the comments. DM us. Let us know what you think. Follow all of that. Keep up with us. And look out for next Saturday for our next episode. We love y'all, and we'll be joining you again shortly. I don't know. Let's just end it.
Later.
All right, love y'all. Bye.
Later.